we are back, day 2, and we're here diving into the 3 C's, keeping your book trapped in your head, right? So, for those of you who are new to me, I'm going to give you a few seconds to come in. I'm Tessa Colvin, publishing coach and consultant, and I support those who are ready to share their stories, their experiences, their message, their methods with others to show them a better way. And for those people who I serve, I take the stress out of book writing. So if you're here, that means that you are someone who understands the agony, the utter agony of having a book just trapped inside of you. You know you should write your book. You know you should get your book done. You know you should share your story, your experiences, and all of that good stuff, but you feel stuck. So as you guys come in, say, hey, let me know you're there. Let me know you can hear me, you can see me, all that good stuff. I'm going to check over here and make sure I'm live because that's my goal. That is my goal, to be live. Okay. So, like I said, we're back. We're day 2. And if you know someone who is struggling with having, or that feeling of having their book trapped inside their head, that feeling like they can't seem to get the thoughts to come out. Hey, Reese, they can't get the thoughts out on paper. Then make sure, I'm giving you a few minutes, make sure you share, tag them, all that good stuff so that they can get this information. It's really good information. So, okay, let me see. Making sure I invite the whole world to, all right, that's enough. So here we go. So, hey, Gemma. So here we are. Like I said, it's day 2. We're focusing on the 3 C's, keeping your book trapped in your head. So yesterday, just a quick recap. If you missed yesterday, check out the event, check out the page. The replay will be available for a couple of days. I'm thinking I might do something special for my group or my academy people, but we'll see. So yesterday, part 1, we eliminated the whole just write thing. Like that, if you are already struggling to get your book out, people telling you just write, that's not going to work. And you know that because you've been staring at the flashing cursor, you've been beating yourself up, you've been trying to figure this thing out and getting nowhere. So yesterday was about clarity. And clarity with Tessa is twofold. Clarity is important because it sets the tone for why you're doing this. It's the fuel for your fire, right? So this is your selfish phase. Jimmy, you already know that. Hey, this is your selfish step. This is where you get to talk about, like, what is it that you want to do, your intention. So that's the internal workings of why you want to write a book, not just because someone said it, blah, 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 those types of things. But, and it's not even the surface of, oh, I want to help someone, because, okay, sure, but why? And the reason can be selfish. It could be, you know what, it feels good when I help people and I want to do more of that. That's fine. Let that be your intention. That's your internal driver for getting your book done. And the other part of the clarity is the goals. What's your goal? And that's the external stuff. That's the stuff outside of you, where it's like, I always say it, I want to be on Oprah Super Soul Sunday. I want to be on Steve Harvey. I want to be on Ellen. I want to have a 12-month book tour that's successful. Whatever the external goals are that you have for having your book done and in hand, you want to write those down. So if you're playing catch up, make sure you go back, check that video out, part 1, because that was your homework. Set your intentions, set your goals. And if you needed a safe space to kind of share that information, I also dropped the link to the Get That Book Done group. So you can go over there, get in there. I'm in there all the time. There's a ton of people in there. We're building a community of people who want to get their books done, right? So let's get to it. It's always my goal not to hold you guys a super long time because, you know, I could talk about this stuff all day long because I love it. So today, the second part, the second piece, step 2, the second C is conversation. Conversation. If you are not new to me, you already know, you're probably already rolling your eyes saying, I know. A book is a conversation. It absolutely is. I stand behind that. That is my go-to. That is my foundational, fundamental teaching whenever I am starting out with someone who's trying to get their book done. it's important that you understand that a book is a conversation. Just like you and I are talking, I'm doing most of the talking. That's okay. But just like you and I are talking, this is a conversation. Think about the conversations that you have. Think about those moments in your life when you have poured out to other people. It was a conversation, right? It was about, they came to you and they had this issue and they knew you were the go-to person. They knew that you would have some type of analogy, some type of story, some type of just advice for them that would turn the light switch on for them, right? You had a conversation. What you didn't do was outline the conversation. And that is not to say you won't outline, because you absolutely will. And if you allow me to teach you how to outline, you'll love it. It'll be the only thing that you ever do when you get ready to write books. You'll go straight to that outline because you'll love it. But here's the thing. Conversations flow like water, right? There's a banter, there's a back and forth, there's an energy of knowing who you're talking to, and they know you, and you pour out the information. You say, oh no, let me tell you, I did that and that was horrible. I made this mistake. Don't do this, right? A conversation is a delicate dance between two or more people, however, right? And it allows for the sharing of different thoughts, ideas. You want to approach your book like that. You don't want people to even if you are right. You are the most right person ever. Like I've never been wrong. Everything you ever thought, done, lived was right, right? If that's you, way to go. That's not my story. But if that's you, you don't want to come across preachy, teachy, condemning, finger wagging in your book, especially if you are assigned and designed and purposed to help people with difficult situations, right? That's the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen, me as a reader, right? I need conversational tones in a book that I'm going to read. I need to feel like it's just me and a girlfriend, me and my big brother I grew up with. I need to feel like that in order to keep the momentum of the reading. If I feel beat down, berated when I'm reading, I'm not gonna, who's gonna finish that book? That's not what you want, right? Let me know if that makes sense to you. Especially those of you who are new to me, this is the first time you're hearing it. Let me hear what you think of that. I'm gonna check out some comments. Jimmy, you said, once I really understood that, how I wrote absolutely changed. Right. And you've been able to get a lot more written. Absolutely. That's the whole thing. Just have a conversation. Some of the most impactful moments in my life were unscripted. I'm sure they didn't adhere to the grammar rules and all of that, right? I'm absolutely sure of it, because it was me and someone I trusted. I let them know what was going on with me. They could relate. They could give me information, whether it was from a spiritual aspect, whether it was from a business aspect, whether it was money management, whether it was parenting, whether it was in regards to my relationship with my husband, being an army wife, like all of the things. It was a conversation that changed things for me, right? So that is very important. So the elements of the conversation, that's what you want to focus on. That's the second step, conversation. So what's going on in the conversation in your book? So, I like layers. So the first layer is this, the actual conversation. Like, what are you talking about? What's the conversation of your book? What are you talking about? What is so important, so powerful that you want to pour it into the pages of a book? What's that conversation? So I named a couple of things just for me on a personal level a few minutes ago, conversations that I've had. So let's talk about money. Gemma is on here, and she was a part of the conversation that happened inside a book that we did together called The Money Code and How to Crack It. We were talking about money. We were talking about financial trauma, because that's a thing. If you didn't know, that is a thing. And we were talking about, it's a group of women, we were talking about just the traumatic situations that we had that changed the energy that we had around money. And for me, I was able to share about being a single mother, not making a lot of money. I went to Walmart, I'm pretty sure it was Walmart or grocery store or something like that. and went to swipe my debit card, just getting the bare minimums, like some diapers, maybe something for us to eat, and my card declined. And I want to say it was less than a $20 purchase. Maybe it was $23. I don't know, somewhere in there. Swipe my card declined. That moment imprinted on me, right? That moment was like, so many things happened to me in that moment. It was like years later that I realized I had a financial trauma. And what happened to bring that up and even make me want to do the money code was I went like down, I'm in the South, and so they have vending machines outside of grocery stores. And I went shopping, and I said, "Who is hot? I'm gonna stop and get a vending machine. Get a soda." And I was like, "Oh, they take debit card now." And I reached in my purse and I got 2 cards out, 2 debit cards from 2 different accounts to make $1.09 purchase. And in that moment, I was like, something is wrong here, that I feel like I need 2 forms of payment, a regular payment and a backup payment for $1.09 transaction. And just like I'm sharing it with you, that's exactly how I put it in the book, just having a conversation. I took people from awareness to action because I gave them some things to do to avoid that financial, sitting in that financial trauma. What I didn't do is say, you gotta always know what's in your account and blah, 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 blah. None of that works, because there's some fundamental things that I know I should do when it comes to money. I don't do them. How can you help me to do the things that I know need to be done? How do you help me uproot those things that, whether it's emotional, whether it's mental, whether it's whatever it is, how do you help me get from being aware that there's a problem to taking action in the conversation, right? Especially, I'm stressing this, especially if you're talking about things that are sensitive, like money, like relationships, like parenting. Nobody parents the same. I don't do what my parents did. And now my parents or grandparents, I have something to say about their grandparenting, but that's another story, right? It's different. You have to be very mindful of your tone in the conversation. I don't care if you know every single statistic that there ever was about money. If your reader doesn't respond to that, the conversation is going to be short-lived. You're going to be talking for pages and pages and pages, and they're going to be done around page 2 or 3, right? Let me know if this is making sense for you, because this is a very important part of the writing process. Very, very important. Like super. Like if you throw out everything else, which don't do that, this will help you to unlock your writing and your words that are designed to help someone else. Okay? Why is this powerful? Think about, we've been on here 13 minutes, and I've had a conversation with you the entire time. Now, I don't know how many words that is, but I'm sure it's probably thousands at this point. Just flowing, just flowing. That's how you should sit down and flow in your book, in the conversation in your book. That's exactly how it should go. So once you know the conversation details, like what are you talking about? Your reader can't be expecting the conversation to be about healthy ways to cook when you have a gluten-free diet and you come in and tell them you want to talk about being overweight. Like, that's 2 different conversations. They have some elements that overlap, but it's 2 totally different conversations, right? Right? Good, Reese. I'm glad it makes sense. So here's the thing. After you determine the elements of the conversation, like what are we talking about? That's when you shift to this really important piece, which is who's in the conversation. Who's in the conversation? So there's you, right? And you know you. I hope you know you. But you also have your reader. Your reader is in the conversation. You've got to treat your book like you are talking to someone. So for me, when I was working on the money code, I had to talk to my daughter. That's what made it real for me. My daughter's 20 years old. She's in college. This is that time when money and credit and bills and responsibility becomes real. And so I was talking to her because, like I said, I was younger version of me when this happened. So I was talking to younger version of me, AKA her. And it was very raw. It was very authentic. Like, it was very vulnerable because I wanted my daughter and anyone who read it to understand how heavy financial trauma was, right? But I couldn't have that conversation if I went into it like I was just writing a book report. Writing a book is not like writing a book report. Remember, the first thing you did in school was what? Say it with me, class. Title your paper. Don't do that. Don't do that. How many people, and I know, Gemma, you've heard this before, how many people do you know that says, I know the title of my book, have not written one word and have had that title for 30 years, right? That's another lie. But writing a book, especially a transformational book, a powerful book that takes someone from awareness to action, doing something to change their life situation, business, relationships, that's a different ball game. You're not heading your paper and then spitting out a bunch of facts and walking away because you're going to get an A. That's not how it works. You are taking the time to know the conversation and to also know who is this reader? Who's this other person in the conversation? Again, think about the conversation we're having right now. Several times, I have some people who are live. I know some people will come back for the replay, but when people come on live, I acknowledge them in the conversation. Gemma, Reese, some other people on. And let them know we are talking. Do you know who your reader is, or are you sitting down to write a book just for you? If you're sitting down to write a book just for you, guess who's going to read it? Just you. So don't be surprised when you are handing out your book for Christmas, graduation, for Thanksgiving, for whatever, because you didn't include anyone else in the conversation, right? A book is the opportunity to write a love letter to your reader. They know you're talking to them. You're speaking their language. You are talking about something they have suffered with, struggled with, worked to overcome, failed at. It happens. We don't like to use that word, but we all fail or fall at something. For me, it's a number of things, like, working out daily. Not as long as I got Netflix. Sometimes it just doesn't work, right? Just reaching our goals. Sometimes we win, sometimes we win in the opposite, in reverse. We just don't know it, right? So knowing the conversation, meaning not just what you want to talk about, but what the reader needs from you, and knowing the reader, they go hand in hand. That makes for a very powerful, very intimate, very transformational, transitioning, just supercharged, so many words, supercharged conversation. That's different than just putting words on a page. That's so different. And that's the goal, right? Your goal is to write a book that impacts, because you've been impacted. You've been impacted by all the things you've had to overcome. You've been impacted by all of the things that you've survived. You've been impacted by all of the people who took time to have a conversation with you and put you on the right path. And so now this is your time to do the same thing with the conversation in your book. And like I said yesterday, when you have a book that is powerful, takes people from awareness to action, it allows you to serve so many more people than just however many slots you have available on your calendar. Those are facts. Those are facts. When I say your book saves lives, it's not just because it's eye-catching and it's gut-wrenching. It's because it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. But you've got to tap into that. And one of the ways the most important way is to make sure that your conversation in your book is right. I don't usually work in absolutes like right or wrong answer, but when I say right, you know what I mean. Making sure that the conversation in your book, it considered the reader. And you didn't fall into the trap of, oh, my book is for everyone. When people say that, oh, my book is for everyone, it lets me know two things. They're operating in ego and they haven't done the work to determine exactly who their words are for. The analogy I love to use to make it really clear for you is this. When you say your book is for everyone, think about that. Switch out book for conversation. My conversation is for everyone. Think about walking into a bar. You spot your friend that's waiting on you. You stand at the door, they're across the room, and you're trying to have a conversation. Well, your conversation is for everyone, right? No, nobody's going to hear you if your conversation is for everyone. You want to get right close up on your friend that's been waiting on you all this time, and you want to have a conversation and make it feel like it's just you and that friend in the room. That's what your book is supposed to do. That's exactly what your book is supposed to do. I hope that makes sense, right? So going back to the two pieces, because you have homework. Homework. It's my favorite thing. Unless I got to do it, then I don't like it. So here's your homework for today. What are the conversation details of your book? The conversation details of your book. Hey, Christine, I'm about to wrap it up so you can catch me from the beginning on the replay. The conversation details of your book. So first of all, what are you talking about? What are you sharing? Okay. What is it that you're pouring out? What is it that the reader wants from you? Those are the conversation details. What's the conversation about? The second piece of that, your homework, is who's in the conversation with you? It can't be everyone. It can't be everyone. If you are writing a book on being a single mother in New York, then a single father in Texas will know immediately that is not for him, right? So who is in the conversation with you? Who is your book for? Those are the two pieces of homework for today. And just like I said, a quick recap. Yesterday, we covered clarity. We talked about your intentions and your goals. Your intentions being the inner driver to get your book done. The goals being the external manifestations or mile markers or measures of success that you want to see as a result of having your book done. Today, it's all about the conversation. What are you chatting about with your reader? It's all about the conversation. And so that's twofold also, in that not only is it what are you talking about, but who are you talking about it with? So that's it. I told you guys I wasn't going to hold you long. I was going to give you homework because that's my thing. And we will be back tomorrow. I know it's the day before Thanksgiving, but we have one more piece. I really want to help hone in on this third C, because I don't think that, you probably won't figure out what it is, because it's a piece that we skip all the time, especially when we're writing, because, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but join me tomorrow. We'll be back tying it up with the third C that's keeping your book trapped in your head. If you haven't joined the group already to do your homework, to be a part of the community, make sure you click the link. It's up in the subject or topic or post or whatever they call it. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day.